Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining in today. I'm just a few minutes late today, as always. I appreciate you guys' patience, but I'm trying to make Sunday morning at least a regular live stream, and if I can, I try to squeeze in one during the week. But during the holidays and everything, it just gets so busy. Anyhow, uh, generally what I like to do is this really a chance for me to connect with everyone, my viewers, and then try to answer some questions maybe that you didn't get a chance to ask, maybe in a previous live stream, or maybe you have a question about, one of my vlogs that I do time to time. But I'm open to any kind of question about, Olympus cameras, lenses, photography in general, workspace, post processing, and and just give you some updates. What's been happening with me too this past week. Seems God, I've been busy bee actually. But I did get a new GX, well, new to me, a GX85 Panasonic. Because really, I just wanted the 12 to 32 lens. So I started shopping for this. I love this little lens from Panasonic. And uh, when I saw this deal over at the camera store where they had the GX85 with that lens for like 350 bucks, I said, well, okay, this is a good chance for me to get into Panasonic and look at what they have to offer without, spending a fortune like I did on that stupid Fuji I bought. That was probably one of my biggest mistakes. I mean, it's a nice camera, but I just don't see myself really using it, uh, hardly at all with all of my other cameras, particularly the new EM5 Mark III, which I really, really enjoy. So, anyhow, excuse me, I just have allergies, so my lungs are a little bit clogged up. Yeah, so as far as I've been getting a lot of questions. Oh, the audio's low. All right, hold on. Sorry. Thank you, John. Let me bring this back in the frame. Okay, hopefully that's better. Um, okay, so yeah, I'm so unprepared. But yeah, good morning. Hey Rod, how are you? John, always good to see you. Jack, Purple Cat. That must be some conversation I missed before I got on. But oh, hi John, another John from Canada. Lauren, hey, how are you? You just commented or emailed me or something about something. I can't remember now, but your name looks familiar. Um, Funny story about this GX85. Uh, I bought this from the camera store, my local camera store, District Camera. Oh, I promise I'd give them a free plug if they gave me a good deal on the camera, and they did. Here we go, District Camera. Am I backwards again? Yeah. Oh, my screen is flipped. But anyhow, I hate when that happens. Everything is opposite. This is my left hand, but it looks like my right hand on the video. Hi Ari, how are you? Brent, hi. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can fix this. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm properly orientated. Okay, let's see. So, Plato's asking me about how I'm getting along with the GX85. Oh, let me quick finish that story. But it turns out one of my viewers, local to me, sold his GX85 to the camera store that I bought this from, or traded it in for the EM5 Mark III. So it's very, very possible this is the same camera that one of you owned previously. which is kind of neat. Small world. But anyhow, yeah, the can't tell the difference. Yes, yeah, Rock, because I'm perfectly symmetrical, right? Which is a sign of perfect beauty. Oh, good morning, Robin. How are you? Man, I appreciate you coming in my live stream. Robin, everybody, Robin Wong is here. If you don't know him, he has a wonderful Olympus channel as well. He's Olympus Visionary, and he's always happy to answer questions from you guys as well. So it's kind of a virtual live stream. I could potentially call you, Robin, on the Skype and bring you in live, but I don't want to. Yeah, let's not experiment with that quite yet. um, let's see. Um, Thinking of trading my D7200 outfit for Fuji XT30. Any thoughts? Okay, Larry. Yeah, let me talk about that because I owned a D7100. But I need to finish the other question real quick from John, I think, or from Plato about the GX85. I spent half the morning yesterday reconfiguring the menus and the buttons so I didn't keep making accidental mistakes. Because on my first photo walk, I kept inadvertently rotating this dial or touching the screen over here because it's very touch sensitive, the menu settings. And there's a sidebar menu that comes up here. And I was wearing gloves. So, yeah, I made a lot of, I took a lot of bad pictures, or not pictures that I wanted because, I kept changing settings. Even if you watch that video where went out with this camera and I'm holding it up talking about my handling issues, and in the screen itself, you can see one of the menus were popped up, and I didn't, that's not what I wanted, So I was taking just some really bad shots, but I spent the morning configuring it, and I got everything. So I took it out yesterday, and I did a lot better in terms of getting the images that I wanted or the settings that I wanted out of the camera every time I took a picture. And it has a little better implementation of the custom settings than the EM5 Mark III, but not as good as like the EM10 and the EM5 Mark II or the EM1 Mark II. So maybe that's something Olympus can do in a firmware. It's just a simple software thing that they do with the custom settings. But it's a little more usable to the way Panasonic set it up versus the EM5 Mark III, but not as good as, just about every other Olympus camera. The image quality, yeah, it's fine. I can't really tell much difference. That people have said that at the higher ISOs, the Olympuses do a little better. And, the little bit of spot checking I did, that does appear to be the case. But, high ISO doesn't bother me so much. I'm more concerned about the image composition and I'm just trying to take a nice picture, which is really hard for me sometimes, especially when it's really cold. Okay. Yeah, and the most common question I got about the GX85 was about the EVF, right? And, for me, okay, if I'm looking at it straight on, I'm okay. But there's not much wiggle room. If it's slightly off center for me, from my eye, there's a little bit of smearing inside. It gets a little blurry. So I can see people, some people may never get it to look clear, which is the case, from the feedback I've been getting. For a lot of people, it's probably fine. And for me, it's okay. It's kind of 50-50 for me. I'm not a fan of the EVF. The EVFs in our Olympuses are superior in that respect. That, you have a much wider angle of view. You have some wiggle room here in the viewfinder where you don't get any smearing or anything. And the EM5 Mark III has, really good eye relief. Like you can look at it a little further away from the viewfinder and still get a full frame view. So, the only thing I can tell you is if you're considering the GX85, make sure you test the viewfinder and that you're comfortable with it. Adjust a little diopter the best you can first, and then see if you can live with that because some people cannot. And yeah, now the overall build quality and everything is excellent. You know, it's really it's one of those cameras that have a nice all metal feel to it, and some people really prefer that. I mean, it adds some weight to the camera. This weighs about as much as my Pen F, or feels about the same. And this grip in the front is is just right for lenses like this. I wouldn't go much bigger than this with a grip like this, but it's fine. And again, I have small hands, but there's good clearance between my fingers and the lens. But you're still holding the camera kind of like this, right? It's not the same as a legitimate grip where you got, you know, a natural hold on it like this. You're kind of like this still. And the thumb grip is a little bit weak. If you look at that, let's see, you can see there's barely a bump there for the thumb grip, right? And that was the handling issue I was having at first. Was I was holding the camera, but I'd be accidentally bumping this this little dial in the back. And when you're wearing gloves, you don't feel it that you've moved things, right? So even yesterday, after I set everything up the way I wanted, I was still having exposure compensation issues. I was dialing in plus or minus when I didn't intend to. I had almost a negative full stop exposure comp dialed in, and I didn't realize it. And you'd think you could just look at the, you know, chimp the picture and catch that, but my problem is, you know, I'm going out with two cameras at a time when I'm doing these comparisons, so I don't notice things. You know, my brain is split, right, 50-50, so yeah, I'm not good at multitasking. I just don't have the brain horsepower for that. So I was still making some mistakes that I think if I was only shooting with one camera, I wouldn't have made those kind of mistakes where I changed settings. Okay, the last, hopefully, Plato, that answered your question to some extent. If you have another question about that camera, let me know. Now I used to have a D7100, which was a fabulous camera, and a D7200 is even better, right? In every way, I think every measurable way. And I love the fact that you can still adapt, you know, vintage lenses to the D7200, and I used to do that a lot. I'd adapt these wonderful, you know, vintage AI lenses from Nikon to my D7100 or D7200 for that matter. So my recommendation really is the XT30. You have to get a grip for it. Let me go get this. I have it. The XT30 has no grip, so I had to buy a grip for it, which really, even with this kit lens, this is the 18 to 55, it's a little bit unwieldy without a grip. It's still a little bit too heavy. And so for handling, this is going to be the biggest issue going from a D7200 to this. But if you get a grip for this, you'll be okay. But I don't think the XT30 offers any advantages over the D7200 in terms of size and weight. And certainly the lens selection, you're going to have to update all your lenses. You know, adapting lenses to this is not going to work, or it's not worth it from your Nikon system. So I don't think, you know, the XT30 offers anything over the D7200. I would just keep the D7200, to be honest. If you want to upgrade to a smaller, lighter system, you know, you're going to have to go step all the way to Micro Four Thirds to do that. Because I mean, look at the difference between these two. Well, it doesn't show up well on camera, but there's a substantial difference in size between these two cameras. So if your goal is to go lighter and smaller, Micro Four Thirds is the way to go, not XT30. This camera is still kind of bulky, even especially when you start attaching the lenses to it. And image quality wise, I don't see any difference. Not enough that you should upgrade to this. I wouldn't even call this an upgrade from a D7200. Um, because the EVF here, if you just want the electronic EVF, is still small. You know, you might want to consider an XT3 if you're going to upgrade from this D7200 for image quality. Then that might be a little bit more substantial. Uh, but again, not. But just in terms of the handling over the XT30, there's no difference in image quality. And if you're thinking about for video and with respect to video, if you're on a tripod or a gimbal, you're okay with the Fujis, but there's no IBIS. And it's, you know, if you see any of my comparisons of the XT30 or just, you know, it's shaky, you know, you're going to get motion sickness if you're thinking about video. So it has to be on a tripod. But once it's on a tripod, the video is excellent. And the autofocus is very good, but I wouldn't say it's superior to a D7200. Not enough that you should upgrade. So I my recommendation would be just stick with the D7200. And really, if you're going to change systems, it needs to be a much bigger step because the D7200 sets the bar pretty high, actually, you know, for its form factor in terms of image quality, handling, and lens selection. And you know, flash systems, everything. The Nikon has, you know, been around a long time, so they've nailed it. Um, which is why I switched from Sony originally. I had a Sony. I switched to Nikon, and I was so much happier. But then when the size and weight kind of got unwieldy, I switched to Micro Four Thirds. So I hope that helps you, Larry. Let's see. I had a GX7, but the EVF was the same in the GX7, I think. Okay, Vuviet is asking, I'm going to upgrade from the EM10 Mark II. Do you think the Pen F is a good choice, or should I look at the Panasonic lineup instead? I'm looking for something rangefinder style. Uh, yeah, the Pen F is awesome. If you do primarily photography and you like shooting JPEG in particular, the Pen F is an awesome, awesome upgrade from the EM10 Mark II to go to a rangefinder style. Man, I need to get my camera. Here's the Pen F. Again, this you'll need to buy a grip for it because this has no grip at all. So you know, holding the camera like this is kind of awkward. So I bought, you know, one of these grips for it. I love this wooden handle grip. It really I don't know, spices it up. The only reason I would say don't get the Pen F if you're primarily a photographer is I think this kind of screen is a little bit more awkward to use in photography than say like on a, you know, versus just being able to tilt up and down like this. This is a lot easier to use, I think, for photography. Now, if you're in the video, obviously go for this screen. This is a very, very good compromise because you still get the, you can still tilt it the way you want it, and then flip it all the way around too. So if you want this kind of screen, I think the Pen F is awesome. And I've seen these things for like $800 now. But there's so many features on this camera, you know, that I can't go into without making another 2-hour video. But I do have a video actually on the Pen F versus the EM10 Mark II that you can watch. And I think it outlines pretty well the differences between the Pen F and the EM10. So it's on my channel somewhere. Just search for EM10 after 3 years or something, because I compared the EM10 Mark II versus the Pen F after having both for 3 years. And Panasonic doesn't offer anything, I think, over our Olympus cameras in terms of photography. And in fact, I think it's a little bit inferior in terms of feature sets. I think the Panasonics just don't offer quite as much with the a lot of the settings. Now, granted, I've only had it for a week. Uh, but if you're thinking about a Panasonic, a lot of people love that G9. I wouldn't recommend the GX85, but maybe the what is it? The GX9? Is it? It's the rangefinder style upgrade version of this. You may want to look at that one. That does offer more features than the Pen F in some areas, like the 4K photo mode, post focusing. It has superior video over the Pen F, and I think the IBIS is pretty close, if not equal to a Pen F. So the GX, I think it's the GX9. It's the rangefinder version of this, or same as this, but with a 20 megapixel sensor and some more features. So it will offer some advantages, but it's still not as good as the Pen F in terms of working with JPEG files, particularly black and white. There's so many settings you can do. Like I was able to do my Kodachrome profiles in color, and in black and white I can imitate just about any other camera. But it also has very good controls for color filters. There's a lot of granularity there. So I think the Pen F really kind of stands alone, and I think you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of the Pen F than you will just about any other camera. Because this camera is my first choice if I want to just go out and do photography, despite the fact that it lacks 4K photo mode, post. It lacks a lot of features that you find, bells and whistles that you find in other cameras. But this camera has things that you won't find in any camera, which, if you like to do things in camera, this is the best bet. Okay, so let me scroll up here. So Vu, I hope that helps. Watch that video where I compare the M10 and the Pen F. Oh, Merry Christmas, Michael, and Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, hi, Dave from Korea. Your question is, I want to buy a wide-angle lens for Olympus. Can you recommend me one? It just depends on your budget. If you have the 14 to 42 kit lens, this is a $99 wide-angle adapter, and this will make the lens about roughly 11 millimeters wide on the kit lens, which is pretty good. So I have a video on this lens that you can watch where you can actually see the difference between the two. But it just goes on, and you have to have this kit lens, the one that manually zooms in and out. This is a good option for $99. Another good option is the 9mm body cap lens, which I've busted, but this is it, and it's super tiny, as you can see. But it's an f8, but it's very sharp, and there's some distortion, right? Fisheye distortion, which can be corrected in post without too much difficulty. But then once you do that, you're back to an 11mm focal length, so you might as well get this if you don't want the fisheye effect. And then there's the 12mm f2, which the only real advantage this gives you over the kit lens is the fast aperture at f2, and it's super sharp, wide open. Whereas the kit lens, if you pixel peep, you'll see that this is sharper, no question. But sometimes 12mm is not wide enough, so you want to go wider. And I think a good option might be, if you have the budget, the 7 to 14 from Olympus, 7 to 14mm, that's a super wide and super fast lens. Panasonic has this is one that I have. I have the Panasonic 7 to 14 f4, which is about half the price of the Olympus version, but it's an f4, right? So it's half the speed. This is not bad, but I have purple flaring issues with this lens personally, which you can kind of work around, but I do have issues with that. And then another good wide angle, there are third-party ones out there. There's a lot of them. I think most people really like the Laowa 7.5mm f2. That'll give you a really nice wide field of view, and it's perfect for like astrophotography, landscapes, etc. So those would be my recommendations. One other very good lens if you're not worried about speed, is the Olympus 9 to 18 millimeter. It's not a lens I own because I have that focal length covered at faster speeds anyway. But if I didn't have too much stuff, I would probably get that lens. The 918 Olympus, super sharp, but it's an f4 to f5.6, so it's a little bit slow. You need to be in good light. So you may have a little trouble like indoors. Unless you're really good at hand holding or on a tripod, then it doesn't matter. I'm finding that I can hand hold the EM5 Mark III, at 2 seconds, no problem. So if you're fine with longer shutter speeds, the 918 is awesome indoors, and it's an awesome lens to use outdoors and travel. And I think it's around $600 new, and I see them used for 400, 450. So I think that's also a good option. All right, let me scroll down. Okay. Rod had a question. Would the 4K recording in principle be the same in the EM10 III, Pen 9, and EM10, EM12? I might need a 4K recorder. No, it's not the same. The EM1 Mark II has the best 4K by far because it has the higher bit rate, I think, across the board. And the EM10 Mark III and the Pen 9 are going to have very similar 4K video. And nearly, I'd say probably 95% of what the EM1 Mark II can do. But the Pen, well, I don't have the Pen 9, but the Pen 8, and I'm sure the Pen 9 has the same issue. You have to check the owner's manual because you're not going to see it like in a general list of specs. You go into the owner's manual and see the exact settings. But the Pen line of cameras, I have the Pen PL8 here. The challenge with this in video, this doesn't have 4K, but I assume it's going to be the same in the Pen 9, is they limit the frame rates. Like that does not have 24p in it, I don't think. And it doesn't allow you to go over ISO 3200 in video either. So check the specs on the Pen 9 if it'll let you go to ISO 6400, if it'll let you choose multiple frame rates. And then check what the bit rates are, because you really need to be at about 50. That's the other thing. The Pen 8 does not allow me to use all-eye uncompressed video like my EM10 Mark II and I assume the EM10 Mark III. So you're not going to get as good a video out of a Pen 9. But again, you'd have to double check the specs on that in the owner's manual, because it's not going to be on the spec sheet like online that you're going to see. But the EM10 Mark III, no problems. That's going to let you do ISO up to 6400. It's going to give you all of the different frame rates. And then, of course, the 4K video. But the autofocusing is not great, and particularly when the light starts to drop or you're using slow lenses, like even the kit lens, unless you're in really good light, it's going to be a little weak on autofocus. Okay. Oh, thanks to old. Let's see. I scrolled past everybody's questions real quick. 1 second. Yeah, Jack. The Nikkor glass is awesome, isn't it? The 2.8's a little. It's one I wanted, but I decided to go with the 3.5. The Pen F is still worth getting in 2020. You should make a video first week. Those videos get a ton of views in Jack and rack upwards through the year. Oh, okay. I can talk about it. I mean, it seems, honestly, any camera in the last 5 years is still worth getting because of the pricing, right? So price is always really, I think, the main thing when you talk about buying a camera. And because of the word in that sentence, is it worth it in 2020? And worth implies, is it a value for the money? And I like the GX85, I paid effectively $200 for the body. That's definitely worth it, by far an awesome value. The EM10 Mark II, I've seen it for $400 with the lens, even less than that in some cases, and definitely worth it in in 2020 and beyond, right? So the Pen F, now that I'm seeing it in the $800 price range, I think it's still worth it. But the Pen F is a very unique camera, so you have to value the features that it has separate from any other camera on the market to kind of determine if it's worth it, because then those features become very subjective. Like, are you going to use them? For me, this camera, now that I know everything that it can do and on the JPEG side, would still be worth it for me at the full list price when it came out at $11.99. And the fact that it's now $7.99, no question, is still worth it. But I'll go into more detail about more conventional ways people like to think about cameras, and that's the resolution, the ISO performance, the autofocus, all of that. Based on that, is it still worth it? I'd say probably not. There's much better cameras at lower price points. But that's not why people buy Pen F, I don't think. I think they buy it mainly for, its looks, the cosmetics of it, and the JPEG-centric features that you can do on it. Okay. Some people said that the kit lens that came with the Panasonic is more sharpness than the kit lens come from Olympus. If I bought the kit lens Panasonic for $90, is it necessary? Okay, that's a very good question. The sharpness and contrast, I haven't compared them for that specifically. But my gut feeling is it is a little more punchy and a little sharper. Just a hair, not enough that I would say it's worth buying it just for that. But the reason I got it was twofold. Number one was because of the 12 millimeter wide focal length. That's I'd say 70% of the reason I bought it, 2/3 of the reason, because I do vlogging, and going from the kit lens is 14 millimeter to 12 millimeter is a big deal for vlogging, because I hand hold my vlogging. I don't set up a tripod normally and just jibber jabber, right? I walk around with the camera at arm's length and going to 12 millimeters. So that's why I bought it. And then the other 30%, I would say, is because it is a pancake form factor. Now, is it really that much more compact than the Olympus version? Not really. Not enough that I would choose, sorry, it's hard to see. I would choose the Olympus version over the Panasonic. That by itself is not a reason to make a decision. The main point of this lens is really the 12 millimeter wide. If you don't need the 12 millimeter, don't bother buying it. If you need a pancake lens, I would consider this over the Olympus version for $90. I think at this point I would probably buy this one over this one if I had to choose today, and that's because of the 12 millimeter. And it's a little bit lighter by 20 grams, so there's that. Now this lens here, this is the standard kit lens, right, from Olympus, and I've attached the wide angle adapter, which actually makes it a little wider than this lens. But this combination with this adapter and this lens is 200 grams, okay? So even though functionally it's better than this pancake lens, ergonomically it is not. It's 200 grams versus 70 grams. So I would say it's worth it for the 12 millimeter and the pancakeness of it, if those are the two things you want. But not worth it if you think it's just going to be sharper. I wouldn't say buy it for that. That would not be a money well spent. Yeah, Larry, the Nikon, I would keep it over an XT30, definitely. Sorry, I'm just catching up on the comments. Yeah, hence I'm thinking about it. If nothing changes, I'll go with the Pen F. Oh, thank you, Vu. Yeah, you won't be sorry with the Pen F if you're primarily into photography. I mean, the Panasonic's clearly for video. Uh, oh, the 35 millimeter Pixco lens is awesome. Yeah, I need to take that out. I haven't taken it out in a while. I had to turn off the M5 Mark III preview button. I kept pushing it inadvertently. Where is that? What preview button? Are you talking about the little play button down here? Maybe because of the way you're gripping it? I haven't had that problem personally. Or maybe you're talking, oh, maybe you're talking about this button, the preview, right? Yeah, I haven't had that problem myself. Interesting. Maybe I didn't notice. Maybe I'm pushing it and it didn't notice because I have it programmed. Well, I've programmed this button to digital teleconverter, so I would have noticed that. But yeah, I'm not having an issue. That's interesting. But that's what I mean. That's why people have to try cameras, right, for themselves and see what works for them and use them because, I might be the only one on the planet that's having a problem with the GX85 and changing settings inadvertently. I don't think I am, but uh, the birding lens Panasonic 100 zoom rough zoom ring, the 100 purple flare. John, I think you're asking me about the Ollie 75 to 300. I get great results in the summer when I can have enough light. In the wintertime, I'm really struggling. And I've never tried any of the Panasonics to tell you if there's any difference between the two. Um, I did read some forum posts where people were debating the 100 to 300 versus the 75 to 300. And it went in both directions, right? Some people preferred one over the other for different reasons, but it wasn't because of sharpness. Uh, it was mostly about handling. And when they did talk about sharpness, those kind of pictures, it has a lot to do with composition or framing of the subject, right? Are you close enough? Do you have enough light? I mean, there's so many variables at that focal length that I think either lens that you get uh, will give you the results that you can get out of a lens in that price range, but it takes a lot of skill, and it's still something I'm working on myself to get good results with. But I can tell you that when you buy a Olympus lens or Panasonic, make sure you get that lens for the Olympus or Panasonic body. So Olympus on Olympus, Panasonic on Panasonic. Um, and that may make the decision for you because you can potentially start to lose some features. Like I know high res shot mode works on the 75 to 300, but it will not work if you put a Panasonic 100 to 300 on the Olympus camera. So I mean these are kind of on the fringes of why you choose one lens over the other, but there are very subtle things that are differences in the lenses when you start putting them on different manufactured bodies. So I always try to buy Olympus when I can buy Olympus. And I made an exception with the pancake lens here because of the 12 millimeter. The focal length was more important to me than buying an Olympus branded lens. Uh, used yesterday and found it quite outstanding. Yeah, Saffron, I did try it for some street photography yesterday, and I'm reviewing the results now. Let me see. And yeah, it's fine. I mean, I didn't have any really issues with it. I'm finding the dynamic monochrome a little bit too strong, and um, it's it looks darker than I think it needs to be. Let me see if I can show you. That's me. Hold on. Here is That's that. So I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it, comparisons. But I'm gonna post a little short trek video if I can today. I got a dinner date tonight, but uh, I finished recording my vlog from yesterday. I went to Crystal City with these images in it. So I'm going to post a little 5-minute video maybe before I head out. But, you know, videos take hours to edit sometimes. And I may not have that much time. But anyway, Saffron, yeah, I want to take it out more for street photography and really do a comparison, a fair comparison, because I was still messing up settings on my on it and the M5 Mark III for that matter. Uh, oh, that's too bad, Saffron. I'm sorry to hear that because I know you just got that camera back, right, from repair, and it's still draining the battery. Wow, that sucks. That sucks. So they didn't fix it. They just did a blanket, like, let's just replace the whole motherboard, right? Because I think that's what you told me they did. Um, okay, so the only thing that scares me, Wahab is saying, the only thing that scares me when taking my Olympus gear for street is to spoil it with dust. I live in a, oh, you live somewhere where it's dusty. Yeah, I can't say. I've never had a dust problem, but I don't live like in a very dusty area, right? It's always, you know, it's fine here, weather-wise, other than being butt cold. Um, yeah, Brent, the 100 to 400. I thought it was a 150 to 400, but I don't know. I don't pay attention to predictions until I actually can buy it. You know. Let's see. Uh, Anti-gas year. Yeah, good luck with that. Oh man. I'm not a big fan of New Year's resolutions personally. You know, I like starting each day like this is the first day of my life, you know? New Year's resolution seems to me like a cop out, like, you know, I'm going to put this off or I'm going to start this year, but then you have the whole year to start, really. Not most people don't start day one, or if they do, it burns out. So you really, for me personally, and everybody's different. This is just how my brain works is every day is a new day, is the first day of your life for me. Yeah, Robin, it is cold, man. It was from your perspective, it was -3 Celsius yesterday when I was out walking and I was freaking cold. Oh, it's supposed to warm up the next few days, but man, minus like 24 degrees for the rest of us here in the US, but overseas, you know, it was like -2 or 3 Celsius, maybe 4 sometimes. And if there was a little bit of a breeze, so that cold got down into my shirt. Oh my God. Anyway, it's cold. Uh, yeah, the date. It's not really a date. It's just I'm meeting. I'm just having dinner with my cousins. Uh, but thanks, Wahab. I do have a date on Christmas Eve. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I saw the 17 F18 used for about 260. That is an awesome deal. It's a little more than I paid. I paid 250 US dollars for a used one. But let me tell you what you have to look out for if you're buying a used one. Hopefully you can try it before you buy it, okay? Uh, but my copy of the 17 millimeter f1.8, and this is not uncommon. I've heard this from many people. Where is my 17? It's in my bag. But there is, I need to put it on so you can hear this. I'll put this on my EM5 Mark III. Yeah, Plato, 1957 Plato's asking about the 17. That's a good deal. I mean, it's close enough to 250 US dollars. Oh, battery. Hold on. There's a little bit of a sound, and I hope you can hear this over the mic. Put this in the video mode. Wait. All right. Listen to it, okay? Listen to the lens when it's autofocusing. If you hear a little bit of clacketing, particularly in continuous autofocus, I can't duplicate it now. But some people are having a problem with it. I haven't seen any problems in terms of functionality. The lens works fine, it focuses spot on. But that's lens, if you're recording video and it starts pulsating a little bit or clickety clacking, it's going to get picked up on the in-camera audio when it shouldn't be. It should be virtually a quiet lens when it's autofocusing. So that seems to be an issue with that lens that I've heard from some people. So check that out. Okay, so but that it's a good deal otherwise. But check that out, Plato. I would if you can. Otherwise, it might be if you don't care about video, it doesn't matter then. I think the lens functionally is fine, but some of them have that sound. Sputnik, hey, how are you? You got my attention. How you doing? Let's see. Minus 15°C and heavy snow. Oh man. Yeah, not for me. Yeah, I know. Olympus has a good selection, I think. But by cheap, what do you mean? Like $200 or less? Because most of the lenses, I think you can get around 500 or less. On a used market. New, yeah, they're a little pricey. New, relatively. Well, I don't think they're pricey. New, even relative to the camera's body. But I think that's true for uh, all camera manufacturers. But when I think about it, Panasonic lenses, they do have some pancakes and things that are cheap and small that Panasonic could learn from. Like the 25mm f1.7 pancake is awesome and it's cheap. The Panasonic 25mm f1.8, or is it a 1.7? The regular, I have a couple of those. $150 versus 250 for the Olympus version, right? So I mean, there's things about there's brand I'm sorry, build quality and things like that that need to be considered between the two. But if you're talking about just you want to get affordable lenses and you're not worried about, okay, so it's all made out of plastic, but it's still giving me great images and it's going to last me a few years. Why not, right? So I mean, Panasonic has some good cheap options over Olympus on a few lenses, but it's very specific. Once you get past those few lenses, it's pretty much the same across the board. Okay. Hopefully you guys can still see and hear me. I'm not seeing any issues on my live stream. But somebody mentioned they're only getting pictures, not audio or video. Wow, you know what really cold is, huh? Oh man, I understand now when you get older why people, at least here in the U.S., move to Florida. Man, It sucks getting cold. Yeah, the 45 f1.8 is awesome. Yep, Roman, no question. How you doing? I didn't see you come in yet. uh, yeah, well, that's what I mean. Yeah, as you know, I did. He's saying that the 25 millimeter from Panasonic is great for photography, but not great for video on Olympus. And that's the other reason I stick with Olympus is because I do a lot of video. If I only did still photography, I would look at lenses from both manufacturers and prioritize my needs from there, based on focal length and/or features I may or may not have on a particular camera body. How's it? Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, I'm very warm. I'm always very happy, especially when I'm hanging out with you guys. How's the 12 millimeter f2? Already have the 12 to 40 Pro, but tempted by the small form factor. Yeah, if you're not using the 12 to 40 Pro beyond 12 millimeters, the 12 millimeter f2 is awesome little lens, and it's definitely smaller and lighter, no question. Uh, I use the 12 millimeter f2 for vlogging a lot, because, like I was saying earlier, I hand hold a lot at arm's length for vlogging. But in terms of still photography, you will not lose anything in terms of image quality. I don't think it's particularly superior to the 12 to 40 Pro, but it's definitely no worse. It may be a little better than the 12 to 40 Pro. And that extra stop of light at f2 can make a big difference if you're thinking about doing long exposure photography. Like you're holding the camera for 1 or 2 seconds. Uh, you're going to appreciate having an f2 over an f2.8. Also, like I was saying, I think I mentioned astrophotography. That f2.8 to f2 is a big deal. You know, you're talking about being able to do a 20-second exposure versus to get the same thing on the f2.8, you'd have to do a 40-second exposure. And that's when you start to get little eggshell type things in your astrophotography. So I think it's an awesome lens to have if you need the f2. If you don't need the f2 part of it, the faster part of that lens, there's no reason to get it. You know, it can make a big difference if you need that f2. If you don't need the f2, uh, there's no reason to get a 12 millimeter f2 prime. Um, so I hope that answered your question, Shreyas. Oh, you lost audio. Oh, yeah. Thank you. Lost audio on the. Okay, I know why that happened. Sorry about that. Thanks for letting me know. But uh, I didn't say anything that wasn't obvious from what was in the pictures. You know, one is darker. That's basically all I said. Long story short, right? If I want to be succinct, the dynamic monochrome, it was a dynamic monochrome from the Panasonic versus the Olympus black and white. Oh, okay, Roman. Yep. Thanks for coming in, though. Did you talk about the autofocus? I did not talk about the autofocus, actually. I did talk about the GX85, but I didn't talk about the autofocus. The autofocus, I'm struggling with, and I'm not sure if it's user error yet or not. I'm not 100% sure that it's not me doing something wrong. And because I'm so used to Olympus, and you would think, how can you have issues going from one camera to the next? And there are, I don't know, you start to get a feel for a camera, how it autofocuses after you use it for a while. And if I'm trying to use the Panasonic in the same way I use my Olympus when I'm trying to focus on something, I'm not going to get the same results sometimes. Just like when I was using my Nikon or my Sony or my XT30, you kind of develop sort of this subconscious like muscle memory. I don't know how to explain it. It's very subtle. And so as if I was just one of your drive-by reviewers, I would tell you the autofocus sucks on the GX85. But I'm not going to say that yet because I I have that Olympus subtle muscle memory brain, subconscious brain way of autofocusing with our Olympus cameras. And I was out last night in low light with that camera, doing a street photography, and I'll post of that vlog hopefully today. Uh, and it was struggling. It was struggling with the autofocus at night, and I was trying to I was trying to do the pinpoint focus on windows and places that had high contrast because it is a contrast detect system, and it was still struggling. And whereas with the M5 Mark III, I mean, it was like this. I had no problems autofocusing at all in low light with the M5 Mark III. And during the day, when I had plenty of light, I mean, it wasn't bright sun summer day, but I had plenty of light. I was still struggling a little bit. But that was the day I was having those handling issues otherwise with the camera. So I don't want to say that I was having autofocus problems when I was having handling problems at the same time. That wouldn't be fair either. So I think the jury is still out for me in terms of how this camera autofocuses. I don't want to pass judgment on it yet until I've worked out all of the user error and all of the subtle ways that I use autofocus on my Olympus cameras. Um, because most of the time, point and shoot, no problem. But there was enough instances of me missing focus that it made me think, okay, why is this happening? And I don't know if it's because the autofocus just sucks, right? Meaning there's definitely some problems, or if it's something about me that I'm doing wrong, like I explained earlier. So stay tuned for that. Maybe by next week's live stream in the new year, I'll have a better feel for that. But right now, I can't really say uh, any pros or cons of the autofocus on the GX85 yet, other than it's it's probably fine for the average person, and all these drive-by photography reviews, camera gear reviews, uh, they seem to think it's fine. But I'm having some issues that I need to work out. Uh, I bet if you put Olympus lenses on Panasonic, and yeah, I was using an Olympus lens for most of my photography. But when I was having trouble yesterday with the GX85, I put the 12 to 32 back on there because I said, okay, maybe it's this Olympus lens is not working well with this camera. So I do need to rule that out as well. But I did put the 12 to 32 back on the GX85, and I was still having trouble focusing. Um, Let me show you. Okay. Hopefully you guys can hear me this time on the microphone. Uh, it was actually this building here that I was having trouble with the autofocus. So let me go to all the images that I took with this. So So yeah, I missed focus on this. I missed focus. Oh, that's just a bracket. I missed focus again and again. And you can see up here, I am using, hopefully you can see, I'm using the Olympus 14 to 42 here. And I missed focus again. And I'm like, GD, what the, you know, I'm like, WTF, right? So I kept trying. And then finally I was able to get focus with the 14 to 42 on that image. And then I said, you know, I was having so many problems with that lens. Let me put the 12 to 32 on. So I put the 12 to 32 lens back on the GX85 and I was still missing focus. I missed focus there. I missed focus there. And then I got focus on the third shot. And then I got focus on that one too. So, that's what I mean about the autofocus on the GX85. I was struggling, you know, regardless of which lens I had on it. And again, I don't want to pass judgment on the autofocus system yet because, like I said, my brain is subconsciously, my muscle memory, everything is tuned to Olympus. And I'm able to acquire autofocus quite easily with my Olympus cameras, but I was struggling a little bit with the GX85, and I don't want to blame the GX85 yet. It could be totally me. Oh, hey, Sulatan, or Salanto, I'm sorry. How you doing? I am enjoying that GX85. I don't know if you probably missed all my feedback on that lens or on that camera, but it's long story short, it's a good camera. But everyone today is it looks like Salanto blog just joined. He has a terrific Panasonic. He's a Panasonic ambassador, and he has a terrific channel on YouTube called Salanto blog. So if you want to see reviews of Panasonic gear, cameras, lenses, you know, he does a great job there. He does a lot of comparisons too, like I do, between two lenses, for example. And he had an awesome video recently about some tips. What was it? I just watched it and I was like, man, yeah. But he gave tips that apply to any photographer, regardless of camera. And it's not your fault, Solanto. It's my memory's just so bad. But yeah, check out his channel. Look at some of his recent videos. He had one there that was really hit home for me anyway. And of course, you know, Robin Wong's always he's been cranking out some videos lately, man. You've been doing a good job. I'm a little jealous that you've been putting out those videos so fast. Oh, Lauren, you're finding good luck with the GX85? Okay, yeah, like I said, Lauren, it's probably me with that GX85. I am struggling just a little bit with it. Once I get some of the other handling quirks out of the way, I've gotten about 90% of the handling issues out of the way. I can focus a little more on the autofocus and get a feel for how to focus it, you know, because cameras, you know, regardless camera brand, you know, they all focus differently. You know, you want it to do everything for you, but you as a photographer still have to get a feel for your camera and how it performs to get the most out of it, right? And that's where I need to be with the GX85 before I pass judgment on it. Let's see. Yeah, the G9. I would imagine the G9 is going to be better. Let's see. Okay, good night, Rod. I'm sorry. You probably head out a long time ago and I missed you, but thanks for coming in. Peter Forsgard said in the video that when you use 17 at f5.6, everything between 2 and infinity is sharp. Yeah, that's what do they call that? I mean, it's a form of zone focusing, but it's a matter of there's another word I'm looking for. I can't when it comes to me, but it's the same principle like when you're doing landscapes. You know, you focus about 1/3 of the scene in terms of distance, about 1/3 out, and then everything will be in focus from a little bit in front of that to all the way to infinity. Infinity focus. God, what is it called? Why am I drawing a blank? These photography terms, my God, you know, it's no wonder beginners, you know, just can be overwhelmed with all the photography terms because they're very confusing and they're not. There's no rhyme or reason to why they do things the way they do, in my opinion. Relative to how things are done now, I mean, I guess, anyway. They took the GX8 and made it worse than GX85. Interesting. Oh, digital noise. Yes, the autofocus with the 12 to 32 for vlogging is awesome. I am not experiencing any problems at all. There are times when I thought it was missing focus, but then I found out it was a setting in the camera. I had it set to single point autofocus and not continuous autofocus. But I'm going to be posting all my future vlogs using that lens, so you can watch them for yourself and see that the autofocus is terrific. I think the 12 to 32 lens was really money well spent for me because of the 12 millimeter. And I was concerned about the autofocus, but on the EM5 Mark III, I don't know how it is on the EM10 Mark II or the Pen PL8 because those are contrast-only systems, and it may struggle with autofocus on those for video. But for video autofocus on our EM5 Mark III, and I assume the EM1 Mark II and the EM1X, perfectly fine. Definitely no worries at all. Okay, Merry Christmas, Roman. Thanks for coming in. Hyperfocal distance. That's what it's called. Hyperfocal distance. When we were talking about focusing 1/3 of the way in, they have calculators online based on sensor size and focal length of the lens and aperture to tell you what the hyperfocal distance is supposed to be. So focusing at 2 meters, and then from there out is all, you know, to infinity is in focus. So just Google hyperfocal distance and calculator, and you'll see that. But just rule of thumb, you know, you can focus about 1/3 of the way in, and then from there out will be in focus. Let's see. Okay, Marco's asking, how are the ergonomics of the GX85 versus the EM10? I would say they're very different cameras. One's rangefinder style, one is, you know, DSLR style. So it's a matter of preference, I think, more so than saying that one handles better than the other. The grip, I'm sorry, you know, the grip is adequate for lenses like this. You know, I got this adapter on it, but the grip for this is adequate. So handling is fine. The only problem I was having is with the thumb grip, and I was having that problem again yesterday. Was there's very little. I wish everything is opposite in the camera. But you can see there's virtually no thumb grip, right? And they put the thumb wheel here right on the thumb grip. So I'm still having problems with that in terms of handling. and it's something that I'll have to. In the winter, I'm wearing gloves, so it's doubly worse. I think if I wasn't wearing gloves all the time, I wouldn't have the handling issues I'm having. Whereas, say, like on my EM10, I already put it back. But, say this is the EM10, they both have very, very good, substantial thumb grips on them, see? I mean, that's painfully obvious. There's a thumb grip. And the button on here is on the top. So when you put your thumb here, you're not accidentally pushing it. You have to actually, consciously think about moving your thumb up there. So I like the handling of the M10 over the GX85 because of the thumb grip. And then there's the other ergonomic issue might be, some people like to put, if you're right eye focused, they prefer the viewfinder this way versus, on your face like you would with this. So they're just too different of a camera for me to say one is better than the other. It's just a matter of preference. But I can say that the thumb grip is better on Olympus cameras than it is on this GX85. I can't speak to other Panasonic cameras. Certainly better than this stupid Q button on this. They have a good thumb grip on this XT30, but then the Q button is right there, and I'm always hitting that. So I've had to disable this, which is stupid that it was done that way. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to try resizing the focus area. I did have it to a pinpoint yesterday, which was working fine for me in good light, but Solanzo suggested I expand the focus point a little bit. So I'm going to try that again today when I go out, expand the focus point, because like I said, it's like I was saying, you really have to get to know the camera and how it performs best, and then you can pass judgment on it if it's any better or worse than any other camera. I just hate these drive-by reviews that say good or bad things about a camera when they haven't really used the camera, and developed that sort of, I guess, intuition about what makes the camera perform the best. Thank you, Rifleman. Yes, the hyperfocus distance, hyperfocal, definitely. Sorry, I was referring back to the other thing. But there are calculators online. Hi, Rob. What made you want to share? Nothing wrong with that. In fact, thank you. Jose. Jose's asked me what made me want to share. I'm not sure. Share what? You mean share my knowledge? I can address that, but I don't want to bore people to death. If you could be a little more specific on your question, I'll be happy to answer. GX85 is great only if JPEG quality was as good as the Olympus and Fuji. Yeah, it's the EVF is definitely, I hear that a lot, Solar. And Solar, I finally did my Acros, Fujifilm Acros profile for you for Workspace. I need to tell you what the settings are if you want to do it in camera. I can't remember if you're asking me for the in-camera settings or for the Olympus Workspace preset, but let me know. But I did get the Acros down, Fujifilm Acros simulation for Olympus. I think I nailed it. So check my website out for that link. You'll see the Olympus Workspace preset to do Fujifilm X Acros simulation. Oh, egalitarian coffee. The 12 millimeter, no AFC. You definitely have a lot more wiggle room with the focusing point, right? Because it's so wide. But I wouldn't say it wasn't needed because a lot of times I'm doing handheld and I'm close focusing with the 12 millimeter. And yeah, you definitely need autofocus then. The continuous autofocus for the family photography. Uh, yeah, it's fine. On the M10 Mark II, the contrast detect system is fine for still photography. Just make sure you got plenty of light and you'll be okay. You know, even indoors, uh, like if it's daytime and you're indoors, you're fine. If it's nighttime and you're indoors, uh, and you have plenty of artificial lighting, like people have their lamps and stuff on, you'll be okay. You know, you might have to refocus once or twice. The only time I have problem with autofocus on contrast detect cameras are when it gets very low light. So if you watch my video on the M10 Mark II night photography, more recent one that I did, not the older ones, but the more recent ones, you'll see I was struggling a little bit. But that's true for any camera that's contrast detect. As I'm discovering with the GX85, when the light drops, it gets harder. Um, oh, thank you, Utah Santos. Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah, you know the reason I do is I enjoy it. I have fun, you know, hanging out. That's the main reason I do it. And when I make the videos for you guys, the tutorials and the vlogs. I mean, the vlogs I just enjoy doing and making those and sharing those. And that's, if you see my 100th episode video, that kind of explains why I created the channel. Um, so it's episode 100, you know, that I really talk about and answer that question. So you can watch that video. But you know, it's mainly you know, the live streams I just enjoy doing, and I think it's important that you know it's that as a teacher, right? If you want to call me that, to connect with your students, right? Just jibber jabbering in a video for 10 minutes at a time, although you know infinitely helpful, right? Uh, it's not the same as interacting live with your students, so to speak, and other like-minded professionals or enthusiasts. You know, because we have the comment section, we have the community sections, we got forums like the MU43 forum, which I love, and you guys should always, you know, go join that forum if you can. Um, all that interaction is really part of the human experience, right? And what makes life, you know, enjoyable in my opinion. So that's why I do it. I I that's why I do it. Basically, long story short, I enjoy it. Um, oh, okay, Solar. Yeah, the settings. I can tell you the settings, Solar Body, for Acros. Okay. Uh, Let me pull up my workspace. I'll tell you the in-camera settings. Um, Let me find an image. One second. So I'm trying to find an image for Solar Body here. She's been asking me for a Fujifilm Acros simulation. uh, so I'll tell you what they are in camera. You know, put all of the camera settings at default, and then from there, all you need to change is let's see, natural. So if you're in a raw file, natural color profile, all default settings. From there, you only have to do highlight shadow adjustments. Okay, so it's highlights -3, midtones +1 if it's available on your camera. Not all Olympus has midtones, and then shadows -2, and that's it. That's all it is. So highlights -3, midtones +1, and shadows -2. So let me click OK here. Oh, we'll convert this to Acros. Why didn't that work? Natural to Acros for ORF. There we go. And there you have it. That's a raw file to Acros. Raw file to Acros simulation, Fujifilm Acros. Okay, let me go back. Oh my goodness, thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Yeah, Lauren, I love Photoscape X. Yeah, I play with it time to time when just for fun. But I like the collage feature of Photoscape X. That lets me. That it's just very easy. It's easier than Photoshop. And I did try some of the film simulations or art filters that they have in Photoscape X, and I really liked a lot of them. I'm more of an in-camera guy. Get it right in camera. Use the art filters in camera because. But if I was doing a Photoscape channel, Photoscape X channel, I would highly promote the art filters in it. There are really some awesome art filters in that Photoscape X. Uh, so if you're using a camera other than Olympus that doesn't have a ton of great art filters in it, Photoscape X is a good alternative. Oh, okay, Andres. So you chose the Pen F over. Yes, I, I think you made the right choice, no question. Not because it's Olympus, but because the Pen F is such a unique camera. I haven't found anything like it really, and it's too bad that they're not continuing that line. Thank you, Plato. I try. You say my tutorials are thorough and easy to follow. Some people say they're too slow, so they speed it up. So if you want it to go faster, YouTube lets you do a 2x double speed on the video, so you can watch it twice as fast. Oh, thanks, Valdis. I'll try and do that more. Think out loud on my shots. Um, when I went vlogging yesterday, I tried to do a little bit of that, but I was having such bad luck uh, last night. I think mainly because it's hard enough to hold two cameras at the same time and do pictures on both and compose them, let alone being wearing gloves. And then on top of that, it was so cold. So my photo walk or vlog, I'm gonna post it. Was pretty rough though. It's pretty rough. Okay, Solar, yeah, give it a shot and download the preset for Workspace if you use Workspace because you can try it out on a few images and compare it to your Fuji because I think you said you have a Fujifilm too, and see if that is pretty close. But I think I nailed it because the way I developed those presets, I mean, it looks simple, right? I do highlight, shadow, mid-tone adjustments, right? But the way I actually do the presets or come up with those settings is I sample uh, different sections of the image for the RGB values, and then I compare those to the RGB values of an actual Acros Fujifilm image. And I go to all different parts of the image, and I was within. That's why I was able to make a claim that I was within 2% of the Acros image. Okay, John. Merry Christmas. Thanks for coming in. Oh, Shirakman, yeah, I had to send my Pen F in for the exact same thing. It was unexpectedly shutting off, and you'd have to take the battery and put it out and back in. Fortunately, I was still under warranty because it happened to me pretty early on in my ownership. So I sent it into Olympus and they sent it back. And I think the repair order says it had something to do with the EVF, which is weird. I don't know how the EVF and the power is related, but they replaced the EVF or did something with the EVF, and it's been fine ever since, 3 years later. But if you can send it in under warranty, all the better. If not, you can send it in, they can fix that. Papa, yes, get the 45 f1.8. You will love it. I mean, I wouldn't pay more than $250 for it. If you can get it for less, like I paid like $220, I think, for mine. I think I might have paid $250, but don't pay more than $250, and it's a fabulous lens. If you want to buy brand new, they go on sale down to $250 time to time. Brand new, I wouldn't pay more than $300. You know, wait for a sale. But used all day long between $200 and $250, worth every penny. Oh, hey Leon, how you doing? Leon's a regular here too, at least on my channel. He's been nagging me to review the 75 to 300. I'm trying, but I'm gonna have to wait till summer. I am not. You know, when I got this lens 2 years ago, I got fabulous images out of it. But those were all in the summer. I'm still struggling because my schedule and the weather are not always in sync here. You know, when I'm free, the weather, it's cloudy or raining, and you're not going to get good images out of that without enough light. Any recommendation cheap lens for the M10 that's fun? Yeah, the 9mm body cap fisheye lens, $99. That will be a lot of fun, and it's relatively cheap. Another awesome lens is, if you don't like fisheye, is the 35mm CCTV lens. It's manual focus, but I have a video on that lens also. That's an awesome lens. That's like $29. So go watch my video on that lens. I think you want to search for swirly bokeh on my channel, and that video will come up. And I have a couple other cheap lenses there too that are like $20, $30 lenses, but they're a lot of fun. They give you great swirly bokeh, and another fun kit is, and I'm gonna buy this for myself, but what I've seen online is the I think it's the Holga or Lomography kit. You get like 3 lenses for like $40, and there's a 12mm lens in there. There's a fisheye, and then there's some other lens. There's like 3 lenses for $40, Lomography. That, and they're all plastic and cheap crap, but for $40, I think that would be a lot of fun. Oh man, Plato got the 45mm for 160 pounds. Whew, man. Oh, okay. Sam said they fixed it with a firmware update. Really? I don't know what they did to mine. Maybe all they did was a firmware update, but this was when it came out very early on. And I thought I had the latest firmware on it at the time. Okay, Adorama has the Pen PL8 with lens for $279, which is a giveaway. It is metal and not plastic. And yeah, Lauren, the Pen PL8 is an awesome little camera. This was, until I got the M5 Mark III, this was my primary vlogging camera. So I would say 60 to 70% of my vlogs, before I got the M5 Mark III, I used this camera. Maybe 80%. I used this camera for my vlogging. You know, the only limitations, it just has some minor limitations, but for $275, you can live with it. You know, you can live with the limitations it has. Jose is asking me, what would be the perfect camera according to your needs? The M5 Mark III. For my needs. Well, my needs are unique because I'm a YouTuber, right? Um, I need a small light camera that has good autofocus for vlogging, and it has fabulous autofocus for photography, and et cetera, et cetera. This mainly for the form factor, having the fully articulating screen. Uh, this is really the perfect camera. If it wasn't this, then the best budget camera is this Pen PL8 for vlogging and YouTubing, because it has a mic jack, just like the M5 Mark III. It has articulating screen, albeit it comes down at the bottom, but I work around that with a bracket. Those are the two best cameras. The M10 Mark II is awesome photography camera. And you can vlog with it if you record audio externally. It's very good. So yeah, all of the Olympus cameras are very good. But if I had to pick one, money no object, EM5 Mark III. If money was an issue, I'd probably go with the Pen PL8 or the EM10 Mark II. I'd probably go Pen PL8 because of vlogging, but as a photographer, I'd go EM10 Mark II because I use that camera professionally, actually, for my real estate work with no issues. The Pen F. Is the Pen F still worth buying? Yeah, someone asked me this earlier on, and long story short, when you say, is it worth it in 2020, for example, it is it really a value for the money? And on paper, specification wise, it wouldn't appear to be worth it, right? There are better cameras on paper than the Pen F, but the Pen F, you don't really buy it for what it is technically, right? 20 megapixel IBIS, but no 4K. Autofocus is a little weak. Autofocus on the Pen F is the weakest of all my Olympus cameras. But the form factor, the build quality, the JPEG-centric features, the black and white tweaking that you can do, this camera kind of stands alone. So yeah, $650 is great. I would recommend it all day long but as a unique camera, not as an upgrade to anything else, not as a camera that is still valuable in 2020, because specs alone it's not, but for for all the other reasons that the Pen F is what it is, it's definitely worth having as a second camera or your only camera, but not as an upgrade. So that would be my answer to that. It's not a camera you upgrade to. It's a camera you own as your only camera or as a second camera, not as an upgrade. Oh, Photos, you sold your Pen F. Wow. 450, man. That must have hurt. Unless you paid 350 for it. I don't know, but that's painful. I would imagine you probably sold it because you weren't crazy about the autofocus or the fully articulating screen. Because there are some ergonomics and technical reasons that the Pen F is not very good, right? Like I said, the autofocus is about the weakest I have of any camera I've ever owned, actually. Short of the TG5, which has the worst autofocus I've ever seen. But that being said, it's good enough, Doesn't mean it's horrible. It's good enough, but it's not as good as anything else. Yeah, the M10 Mark II is so cheap. I'm so tempted to get another one because the one I have has a couple of issues with it, and because I've dropped it so many times. I had gotten it for about the same price, yeah. Okay, so I hope I've answered everyone's questions up to this point. If I missed your question, just feel free to ask it again. I'll do my best. Hi, Chandra. How are you? Yeah, the Mark III has the same 30-minute limit The M5 Mark II has a 30-minute time limit. The M5 Mark III has the same 30-minute time limit. I'm not sure what the issue is with letting it run as long as it wants, but apparently they've kept that 30-minute time limit, and it can be an issue professionally. I can't imagine it's an issue for the average person, but as a professional doing video work, yeah, it's a problem. It's a big problem because you have to watch your record time limit, you have to watch your battery life. Those are two things you need to worry about, and you want to eliminate as many hurdles as you can as a professional when you're buying a tool. And you don't want to have to worry about your battery life and your recording time limit at the same time because you're checking the camera twice for every video recording. And those kind of issues come up when you're doing very long recordings like lectures or sporting events that go on for a long time. For whatever reason, there's a lot of situations where you need to record for more than 30 minutes. And having to check for two different things at the same time is really an unacceptable uh, hurdle as a professional. So you need to find a camera that doesn't have that time limit, or record externally like I'm doing for this live stream. I'm recording externally, uh, but that's just added expense, right? So. And most professionals that record externally anyway, so that 30-minute time limit is a non-issue. But I can see the problem. My main complaint was autofocus and ergonomics. Yeah. You're talking about the Pen F, your complaint on the Pen F, which I suspect because there's really nothing wrong with this camera, but the autofocus is weak, and yeah, some people don't like the rangefinder style, so I had to get this grip to make it a lot more usable. And it's also I think it looks good on this camera. But now this camera, this is still my favorite camera by far. Oh, they have an L plate on pre-order. I have to check it out. I'm still waiting. Really Right Stuff is usually costs about double, like a Chinese generic one, but uh, if it's half the price of the Olympus original, it's still a good deal. Because the Olympus original grip is 169, which isn't bad, considering it has the button on it. Oh, Solanto, yeah. Oh, you're still here. Yeah, the Pen F. Okay. It was a little pricey when it came out, but that was mostly for the cosmetics, right? It wasn't because of anything that it was technically better at, but will pay more for cosmetics, uh, like me, right? I just saw it and I said, "Man, that's the most beautiful camera I've ever seen in my life. I gotta have it." I think it's the same reason people buy, Leica M3s from 50 years ago. They're just beautiful cameras. Whether or not, there's certainly more technically better cameras out now for 10% of the cost, but that's kind of where I put the Pen F as being very unique. Yeah, Plato. The Pen F, if you can get it for $500, I would say it's a get it. If you want it. If you don't need the camera, yeah, wait till the price comes down. But the Pen F was only my second Micro Four Thirds camera after the EM10 Mark II, so for me it was an easy decision, regardless of the price. Oh, Robin, you're still here too? Okay. Like I said, I was thinking about just calling you guys on Skype and doing a virtual live stream. And for anybody interested, we're thinking about doing a live stream between Peter and Robin and Sulanto, Maddie, next month. Uh, where the four of us will be together, but we'll see. But I just want to put that out there that's probably going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, Tommy, you and I are in the same boat. I bought it purely for cosmetic reasons. Hi, JJ. Welcome. That's right. It's going to be an epic live stream next month. Start looking for anybody watching. Start looking for promotions for that live stream. In about a week. Uh, and get the word out. That we're going to have that live stream between the four of us. So once you start seeing the promotion, start sharing that link with everyone, uh, so that we get as many people and have as much fun as possible. Hi, JJ. You're a newbie. Welcome. Glad to have you. What kind of camera do you got? Oh, thanks, Plato. Yeah, I love this grip, right? Let me see if I can give you a closer look at it. I mean, the pricing on this grip, you have to time it just right. This is made by We Photo. I bought it on Amazon, but it has the Arca Swiss plate on the bottom and this wonderful wood grip. It feels wonderful and makes the pen F really handle well. And they made one for the Fuji. Now I paid $30 for the one on my pen F, and I paid $60 for this one, and it's the same grip, same company, right? We Photo. And when I went back to look at the pen F grip, because when I bought this one I was like $60. So I went back to look at the pen F one, and it was up to $60. So the pricing fluctuates on this, like I can't figure out why. I mean, I have some hacks to try to get better pricing on stuff, but I don't think that was it. Um, so if you're interested in this wooden grip from WePhoto, uh, just put it in your shopping list on Amazon, and then time to time check on it and see what the pricing is. It may have come down in half. Yeah, John. Well, I'll post a link to the live stream. I'm still working out some of the logistics. Not logistics. What's the word I'm looking for? I'm still working things out. But yeah, well, I'll post a link to it once it's official. It's still unofficial at this point that we're gonna do that kind of thing. Um, why is there plenty? Oh, hey, Jose. What made you go live? Not why. Oh, okay, Jose. Well, like basically, I like to hang out with like-minded individuals, right, and help people and answer questions that maybe they didn't get a chance to ask in the comments section, or maybe um, there's something in the video that I've made that they weren't sure about. I think it's important, to be available, as if I mean, I hate to call myself a teacher, but as an instructor, teacher, sort of profile that I have online. It's important to be able to connect with your students and answer questions directly, because a lot of times when I answer a question in a comment, um, it the tone sometimes is not right, or the little subtle things that will clarify to a person what I meant by making that statement, right? Uh, like I might say, just turn the power button on, right? And somebody might take that the wrong way and say, of course we turn the power on. Why are you insulting me? I'm not stupid, right? And it's not what I meant, you know? Uh, so I'm very careful with my wording in my comments, because I don't want the wrong tone to come across. But that sort of tone, in a live stream, you get exactly what I'm trying to say normally, right? Hopefully I come across as being sincere and genuine and trying to help. So yeah, that's why I think live streams are important. and interacting directly, right? Because I see a lot of live streams where they have a moderator and they're just I haven't seen any live streams where the host like myself is actually trying to communicate and connect with their viewers. But I could be wrong. I mean, I think Joe Edelman does a good job actually with his live streams. He does marathon ones too. Oh, Peter. Yeah, Peter's a very serious guy. But Peter, he really puts his heart into his videos and does his very best. You know, but it's not easy for someone when English is their second language, just like with Solanto, uh, to to communicate their passion in the video at the same time trying to translate in their brain from uh, Finnish or whatever language they speak to English. And I think they were telling me they speak more than three or four languages. So, like when I'm teaching, right, I don't smile a whole lot, right, because I'm so concentrated, right? I'm like, yeah, you gotta do this and push this button and go down to this menu, turn left, and I'm very serious if you watch my tutorial videos sometimes, right? Because I'm concentrating, man. And if I had to translate that to a different language at the same time, uh, I would. So yeah, don't misunderstand Peter's mood or passion for photography. I think he really is a very passionate and powerful person in the photography world for Olympus and photography in general, and puts his heart into it. So, uh, but yeah, that's what I mean. Sometimes, like in a video or in the comments section, your mood or your now I lost the word I used before, but your the way you come across in a video or in a comment section can be very different than your actual intent that you mean to project. I'm kind of getting into psychology a little bit, but it's always important to try to project. It doesn't always come across what you're trying to project, uh, how you feel, right? How you feel may be very different than what you're actually projecting. Um, wow, thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Um, let's see. While I was jibber jabbering, there was a ton of comments here. No, the 25. I don't like the 25 millimeter for. I'm sorry. Let me scroll up a little bit before I. Can you update the video for the setting with the M10 Mark III? Oh, hi JJ. Yeah. I don't think I can because I don't have an EM10 Mark III. So I won't be able to. Maybe Peter or Robin can do a video on the EM10 Mark III. I think they own that camera. Um, if you haven't subscribed to Robin Wong or Peter Forsgaard, if you have an EM10 Mark III, I would subscribe to their channel and then, just put in a request in one of the comment sections to do a video on how to do video settings for the EM10 Mark III. Because I just, if I ever get that camera, I'll do it, but I don't plan on getting that camera. Um, do I think the 25 millimeter is only good for street photography? I like the 17 millimeter. The 25 is really an awesome video lens for doing videos. Like if you're not vlogging, but doing videos, it's very good. And it's a very good street lens, I guess, or general photography lens, but it's a little bit too tight for me. I don't use that lens personally enough. I think the 17 would be a better choice. The 45 millimeter you can use for everything. Um, I have a video on the 45 millimeter that you can watch where I kind of demonstrate some of the uses for it, but I did some macro, I did some portrait, but it's also, you can use it for like doing more advanced techniques like panoramics and some. God, the 45, yeah, that's an awesome lens. As a beginner, though, it's a great first prime lens if you have the kit lens and you want to get into portraits. It's a great lens. So watch that video on the 45 millimeter before you buy it. The 25 millimeter, it may be a better choice for you than the 45, depending. But really, the only advantages the prime lenses give you as a beginner is that you can shoot in lower light at lower ISOs. But it's not going to give you much advantages in terms of expanding your photography so that you become a better photographer, because your kit lens is really the best place to start to improve your photography and get to take better pictures. You don't need to get a prime. So if you specifically need a prime for the lower light, yeah, but don't buy it. Get really good with your kit lens and really hone in your photography skills with the kit lens, and then you can make a better decision about what prime lens to buy. Because when someone asks me, is the 25 for this, is the 45 for this, it means that you really need to grow your photography skills more. You're not quite there yet, because most people, when you buy a prime lens, they know why they want that prime lens. They have a very specific purpose for that lens. They're not buying it because someone told them it's good for this or it's good for that. Because I can't tell you it's good for this or that until I know more about what your photography is like, what your skill set is, and what kind of photography you like to do. And so get really good and comfortable with your kit lens, then analyze your catalog of pictures and see what focal length you like to shoot at. And if you end up shooting at one focal length more than the other, and then you're finding challenges because of high ISO or slow shutter speeds, then it'll click to you, to solve this problem I'm having in my photography, I need to get the 25 millimeter f1.8, and then my pictures will be so much better with that lens, because I'm struggling at this point in my photography. So that's the way you really need to look at when you buy a lens, is will this improve your photography for a very specific purpose. So for me, I bought the 25 millimeter f1.8 for video. It solved a very specific problem because I'm always in low light in video, so I need it wide open, and I wanted that blurry depth of field. And the 12 millimeter, I bought it originally for vlogging because the low light, the f2. So I had very specific reasons for buying each lens. The only lens that I really regret buying, and it's probably the best lens Olympus ever made, but despite that, is the 75 millimeter f1.8. That's a lens that is fabulously sharp and awesome, but I never use it. And I bought that lens for the wrong reasons. I bought it because people told me that is the best, sharpest lens Olympus ever made. And I regret buying it now that I have it, because I just never use it. I bought it for all the wrong reasons. So buy a prime lens when you buy a prime lens, buy it for a very specific reason. Whew. Anyway, man, I talked a long time about that, didn't I? But I hope that makes sense. Oh, hey, Dimitar. Yeah, I looked at a Blackmagic live stream sort of thing. It might have been you that recommended it to me. Somebody emailed me a link to a product for doing multiple live streams. And that looks interesting. I think I can do that maybe. That's definitely on my shopping list now. I can't do it now because I don't have the time to learn some new equipment and gear and workflow. But it's definitely something I think I need to consider. So the Atom Mini, I think that's the Blackmagic one. I can't remember, but I was looking at some different live streaming tools. So whoever recommended that to me, thank you very much. I think it was an email or on my website. Oh, hey JJ. So you bought a 25? Yeah, it's a good lens. I mean, get out there and start using it and compare it to your kit lens and think about, how this works for you. Oh, hi John. Image reviews? Probably not. I don't think. Um, but I'll give some thought to that. Image reviews. We weren't planning on doing that, reviewing images in the multi live stream. Uh, it might be something I can add at the end, but I've already kind of outlined the structure of the live stream uh, for that day. So we'll talk to them, Robin and Solanto and Peter, and see if maybe once we finish what we've already planned, maybe we can add that on at the end. Yeah, Robin is being humble. I watched the video you made me buy the OM10. Oh, okay. Yeah, the Mark III is an awesome little camera. Thank you, Chandra. Man, you guys are being really generous today. I appreciate that. That helps me out a lot. Believe me, you have no idea. I think you can talk to about any YouTuber online. They'll tell you they're flat broke. So any dollar helps, man. Um, why does the nifty 25 do not do it for you? What do you not like about it? Oh, Jose, don't worry about your English, man. It's fine. I understand. I understand. If I'm not sure what you're asking me, I'll just ask you to say it again somehow. But yeah, the 25 is it's just too tight. I like to shoot wider for my photography. Uh, all my shots are generally wide. So I can give you an example. I'm looking here. Okay, in 2019, over the entire year, and I'm looking at my database here. Let me see if I can show you. Right here in this column here at the top is the focal lengths that I shoot at. And I have 52,000. Let me narrow this down to just raw files. So I've taken 22,000 images basically in 2019. And you can see 17 millimeter is roughly 10% of that. 25 millimeter is not even 1%, just barely 1% of the images I've taken. And let's see, the next major focal length is ironically 75 millimeter, but that's probably because of my 75 to 300, not because I don't like the 75. I might have to take the 75 millimeter lens out now that I see that. Let's see. That's because I've been going crazy on 75 to 300. That's got nothing to do with real life. But in reality, the 17 millimeter is what I shot the most with. 10% of my images. So if we go from 17, so 17 millimeter and under, I took 8,900 pictures. Let's say 20 mil. I don't know. I'm boring you guys, I think. Anyway, I don't want to bore you guys to death. But yeah, the 25, I don't do a lot. Less than 1% of the images I do at that focal length. Wally, I use a 16 Sigma for portraits. Some nice shots on the last video. I'd like to see a 25 millimeter weather sealed. Yeah, I mean, Olympus really needs some affordable weather sealed lenses. across the range. Hopefully the new pro lenses coming out, the f4s, will be good, but uh, there's no perfect lens, right? I guess no perfect camera, no perfect lens. Hey Jason, I'm a hiker trying to decide between the 12 to 100 and the 12 to 200, or the 12 to 40 and the 40 to 150. It drives me nuts to constantly swapping lenses. No, it's not because you're a rookie, Jason. It is a hassle to swap lenses, especially when you're hiking and you're constantly running into different scenarios, right? Like, oh, there's an eagle. Let me get my zoom lens out, and then oh, look at this beautiful patch of flowers. Let me get my wide angle lens out, right? So you're constantly swapping lenses, and it's a hassle. Uh, you have to now the 12 to 100 is I don't is very sharp lens, but it's kind of heavy. But the 12 to 200 isn't much lighter, even though it gives you longer focal length, and the image quality is not going to be anything near what the 12 to 100 is. So I would say, if you don't mind the weight of the 12 to 100, I think that would be your best bet. Because lugging around a 12 to 40 and a 40 to 150, um, and then having to swap lenses is a problem when you're hiking in the field. And trust me, I know, I know what a pain that is. Um, but I can't bring myself personally to carry a 12 to 100 millimeter lens. But I think if you're fine with the weight of that, I would go with that. If you don't like the weight of the 12 to 100, um, I I don't think we have much. There's many. I can't think of anything. Maybe the 14 to 150 would be a better choice. It's a kit lens, I know, but it's weather sealed, and it is relatively sharp lens. It's not as sharp as the pro lenses, not even close. But it's I think Jason, the 14 to 150 might be a good choice, size, weight, and quality compromise versus the 12 to 100. So you have to decide between those two lenses, I think, the 14 to 150 or the 12 to 100. Doing a 12 to 40 with a 40 to 150 and swapping lenses, I don't think is a good option in your case. Maybe we can help with some donation of specific hardware to help growing. Oh, thanks, Demeter. uh, it's okay. I mean, hardware is expensive. I'm very, I don't think I deserve that, honestly. I appreciate that, but no. Just a few dollars here and there really lifts my spirits and um, helps motivates me, right? From a emotional standpoint. Because $5 here, $10 there is I'm not gonna retire with a Rolls Royce with that, but it does motivate me to help you guys, to know that to put out $1 or $1 or $5 or whatever it uh, is not a small thing. It's a big deal. It's not a small thing to take a moment and donate even a few pennies to someone that you appreciate them doing work, helping you out. So I really appreciate that. Um, but thank you, Jose. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Um, 8-bit Ed. Oh, 8-bit Ed is also recommending the 14 to 150. Yeah, I think that might be a good option, Jason. So work on some do some research. I don't have the 40. I wish I had gotten it when I got the M5 now. Maybe next year I'll buy that lens. Um, But it's like I said, it's not as sharp as a pro lens, but it's an excellent lens otherwise. And the weather sealing is good. Okay. Oh yeah, Robin. Thanks for pointing that out. Robin is saying make sure you get the Mark II version of the 14 to 150 because it is optically different than the original 14 to 150. Um, Unlike some of the other lenses, they have Mark II versions that are not optically different, but the Mark II version is optically different as well as it's weather sealed. The Mark One is not even weather sealed, if I recall correctly. So that's another reason. So yeah, that's a good point, Robin. Thank you. Next year is a week away. I know. It's just the years are flying by. And if you watch my videos, just in the last 3 years, my God, my hair has gotten so gray. I just can't believe it. Um, I'm an old man. I know a lot of you guys are laughing at me. I'm like a young whippersnapper to some of you. I could be your kid, right? Um, oh, hey Dave. Oh, so you bought this G keyboard? Yeah, this is the G613 from Logitech. It's an awesome keyboard. I mean, if you like big, heavy mechanical keyboards, this is a really good one. Has a lot of great features, and I got one. I got this keyboard, and it solved a lot of issues that I was having, and uh, from a, I, I was having some technical issues, and this solved a lot of the technical issues I was having. But it's also an awesome keyboard to type on and use. But you have to like mechanical keyboards. Some people like the soft, quiet bubble type, or uh, which I was considering. I couldn't decide between going totally quiet or going to something that's, you know, loud like this, right? Oops, I swapped over. I keep doing that. I hope there's no private information on that. um, oh my God, thank you, Andreas. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Um, Yeah, wireless mechanical keyboard. It's awesome because as photographers, you have to work on your computer a lot, and having a full keyboard with both. I mean, when you buy a keyboard, you want to get um, the full set of keys here. You want the full set of keys here with the home page up down separately, all of the arrow keys separate, all of the function keys, and then if you're lucky, you'll get additional keys up here that you can use. If you're really into media, you're going to look at a much different keyboard. But as a photographer, this will get you there, I think. I mean, they have dedicated keyboards that for photographers and things, for Lightroom and things, but those things are crazy expensive. I paid like $80 for this keyboard, which it's not cheap as far as keyboards go, but it's cheap for this one because this was originally like $170 keyboard. I got it for like half price, I think. I can't remember, but it was cheap for what it is. Well, thank you, Fioro. Gosh, I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you very much. That's very generous of you. Um, JJ, yes, there's if you have an Olympus camera, get the Olympus version of the 25 and 45. Don't go with Panasonic. I mean, they're optically there's not much difference, if any, between Panasonic and Olympus. But in terms of feature sets and things that you can use in your camera, they're going to work with your Olympus lenses. And you'll discover that down the line as you start to learn all of the things inside the EM10 Mark III. Man, I might have to just, if I see a good deal on an EM10 Mark III, I might get it just for this channel. I mean, I bought a GX85 for God's sakes, for $200. If I can get an EM10 Mark III for that, I will. Uh, F8 to capture the whites. The M18 version is amazing. I wouldn't need a car. I'm not sure where you're going from with that. Wahab is saying, just get the M5 Mark III with the 14 to 150 Mark II, and you wouldn't need a car for a while. I'm out of the loop on that one. I'm not sure where that's going. White hair. Yeah, God, my hair. I don't know. I liked it when I had a little bit of gray on the sides, but now I'm like salt and pepper. I should dye my hair. Just a little bit. But what would be the point of that, right? Who am I trying to impress? I mean, I'm a very vain person sometimes. I mean, a lot of things you have to do just well. Anyway, okay. Any other questions? Because we're man, this is another long live stream. I know they're always long, but uh, no, don't dye my hair. Okay, I will not. I will not. My days of dark hair are gone. Oh, now my vision's going. They say that's the first to go. And my hearing, I mean, like I said, I could be like some of you guys, your kids. I'm much younger than many of you. But, oh, hey, Robin. You love hanging out? Have I tried some vintage lenses? Yes. I love vintage lenses, particularly for Nikon. And this is the main reason I went with Nikon, 6 years ago. Was it 6? Yeah, it was about 6 years ago I started shooting Nikon, maybe 7. Is because I could adapt vintage Nikon lenses natively to my D7100 and my D750. Um, like right now, this has the Micro Four Thirds adapter on it. But this is a wonderful lens. This is a 135 millimeter f3.5, and the images that come out of this are just magic. It's probably all in my head, but I love this lens. um, I just love vintage lenses. This is one. The other vintage lens that I like is but you might be talking about much older vintage lenses, right? Like the Zeiss Junipers and the Takumar radioactive lenses. Who's doing that now is Noe the rain photographer. He's doing a lot of that now. You can check his channel for more vintage lenses. There's another guy, Mattias Berling, I think is his name. He does a lot of vintage lens things. Those are the places for me. Vintage lens is like 1970s type lenses from Nikon. I don't have anything much older than that. Oh, my battery. Hold on. That battery lasted let me see, from 9:15, because I turned the camera on around 9:15 to 11:49. So what is that? That's 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's it. 2 hours and 40 minutes. I usually get 3 hours out of this battery. There, I'm back. I just swapped batteries. I'm using the EM1 Mark II, and this is an Olympus original battery. 2 hours and 40 minutes for the live stream. That's it. I normally get 3 hours though. I got two of these batteries, both of them originals. I don't know. John doesn't miss his hair. You miss your mind the most. That's funny. Oh, hi Jan. You just got here. How you doing? Time to die and find someone to impress. I know, right? I wonder if my social life would change at all if I dyed my hair. There are times I used to have a lucky jet. Well, anyway. If you saw my video on the most important thing in photography, I talk a little bit about my past life, which, you know, really, and there is a reason that I talked about that in the most important thing in photography. So if you watch that video that I made, you'll know what I'm talking about. Oh, 8-bit. You use a 51.8? Yeah, I love the 51.8. I have the 51.8 from Olympus, so I prefer putting that on the Olympus camera just for the sake of, it just feels right to me to do that because it's a true manual focus lens, whereas the Nikon 50-1.8, it's manual focus, but it wasn't designed as a manual focus lens, right? Versus the 50-1.8 Olympus Zuiko lens is a true manual focus lens. But image quality wise, yeah, they're both very good. Which camera are you broadcast? Yeah, Chili Bones. I'm using the EM1 Mark II with the 12-40 Pro lens. I don't know if I can even show you. I wonder. How do you get a camera to show itself? I guess, yeah. Nope. I thought maybe I could do a mirror kind of thing, but we get in my green screen. Okay. But yeah, EM1 Mark II with the 12-40 Pro lens on continuous autofocus. So you can see it's the autofocus now with this new firmware 3 update is amazing. I mean, it was very good before, but now it's just no problems at all. Oh, a mirror. I do have a mirror. Ugh. God, my studio right now is a total wreck because before I go on a photo walk, I like break everything out and then make decisions what I'm going to take. And then, and then when I get back, I unload everything and just drop them on the table. Like, let's see, there's my coffee. You can see all my memory cards here spread out. And there's oh, I don't know, how do I get this in the camera? Hold on. Maybe I back up. There's the EM1 Mark II sitting there, just sitting on my table. And that's the thing, is there's the rest of my studio. I'm using these umbrellas for light, a little behind the scenes thing. My laptop, let's see, whoops. Oh, that's all I can do with a mirror. Oh. But I see some, like Gerald Undone, he has a really elaborate, he just redid his whole studio. and someone else does it. There's a guy that he does it. It's a DIY channel. His studio. Man, these guys go really. What's the Caleb? Those guys go really out of their way for like studio setup, and I'm like, I just put the camera on my desk here and I'm done. You know, why make things so complicated? You know, and then a couple umbrella lights, which, you know, if you do any photography for any length of time, you're gonna have some, you know, umbrellas and lights. You know, they're only like, I paid like $50 for two umbrellas and two lights with the stands. You know, it's I've spent more on little lens filters than I did on this lighting setup. So I don't know, I don't understand sometimes why things have to be so complicated. Uh, what mic am I using? Oh, I reviewed this mic in another video. This is a Fifine. Uh, I got it with the desk, this arm here and the shock mount, and you know, the foamy thing, and it came with another puffer thing um, for like $60. Well, let me rephrase that. I got this for free in exchange for a review for, but it's $60 if you buy this online. And after I reviewed it, because it took me a month after I got it to um, start to get to figure out how to use this thing and get it to work well. Because out of the box, the mic itself was fine, but I was not able to get my software and other things to work with it properly. And and the company that sent this to me was starting to worry a little bit. Did I just steal a microphone from them? And I said, no. I said, I know this is a good mic, but I'm not able to get it to work with my software. And it was a user error. It wasn't the microphone's problem. But once I got it working, uh, then I did the review. So you can watch the review, but it's the Fifine mic. I can't remember the model number, but search for Fifine, Fifine, uh, in my channel, and then I did a review on this mic, and you'll see the whole layout, everything that came with it, and everything. But $60. Oh, thank you, Wally. Thank you very much. Uh, Xenography. Oh, okay, good, Plato. Thanks for sharing that. Hey, Alan. Yeah, I know. I know. We're about 2.5 hours in. Usually, I should just stop when the battery dies, right? That should be a hint that the live stream's going on too long. Yeah, yeah, the GX85 is an awesome little camera. I just ironically just today I just found a little C mode button on here like we have on the M5 Mark III. Um, Man, that's awesome. It and you know, the build quality and everything for the money. This thing is, I love how tight the seams are around the camera. It's very, very high quality. You know, very, very good build quality. I mean, you know, when you pay like next to nothing for something, your expectations are pretty low. And I was impressed with the build quality. I mean, once I get out with this camera a little more, maybe in the new year, like in a week or two, I'll do a little more. I'll talk a little more in depth about this camera. Uh, but like any camera, you have to try it to see if you're gonna like it. And the biggest issue with this was the EVF for a lot of people. I mean, it wasn't for me too much, but I can see where some people would have a problem with it. Oh, thanks, Alan. Yeah. I have another one I'm going to post here soon. I have all the images. Well, I only took about 10 pictures, so it's going to be like a 4 or 5 minute photo walk once I upload it to the channel. Um, Oh, the fee fine is $51 now. Okay, good. Good. Yeah, if it comes with the articulating arm and the shock mount and all that, it's a good deal and it's a great mic. Like I said, you can watch my review on it to kind of get a feel for the features, but it's a simple USB mic. What else is there to say? All that matters with these microphones is how does it sound, and I'm very very happy with the sound, even though my studio is not very sound friendly. I mean, there's probably still a little bit of an echo sound because everything in front of me is all hardwood and drywall and keyboards and cameras. So even with all of that, I think this microphone sounds really good. Um, Focus assist. Yeah, I like the focus assist. It kind of punches in, right? The GX85 has a little focus assist window. That's kind of interesting. I've turned it off for now, but I do want to look at some of the other features that this camera has in more depth once I get some of my other handling issues out of the way. And again, it's all user error, particularly with me because my muscle memory and my brain is all tuned for Olympus. That when I pick up a GX85 or any other camera, I struggle, you know, to use it efficiently. So give me a little time, and I'll be able to give you a fair review of the camera. Not review, but a fair opinion, I think is a better word. Did you see the surf photos I took? I did not see your surf photos. Did you posted them on Instagram? Jan has sent me some surf photos. I can't remember. I don't think I've seen them though. Rob, the reason I asked about the model of your camera is because I hear mixed review on sufferability of the sensor to succumb to heat from prolonged shooting. Oh, hey, no, I have not had any issues, but I'm not like a sports action guy where I'm firing off, hundreds of frames every minute and for hours, But for this live stream, it just went 2 hours and 40 minutes, right? Without overheating. So that's something. Yeah, the viewfinder is definitely pretty solid on all the OMD cameras. I'd like to see a video on the Olympus Tough. I had the G80 but bought a second-hand M2. Really pleased with it. Oh, on the Olympus though, I don't think you mean the TG5 Tough camera, right? You mean you would like to see a video on the... Okay, well, if you could be a little more specific, I might be able to direct you to a video I already made, or maybe one that Robin or Peter has made. All right, Jan, I'll check out your photos on Instagram. I look at Instagram when I'm having my coffee, but now I got so many people on my feed that I can only see a handful of people before I got to move on to something else. But I'll check those out. Of all the places I've ever been, what are your favorite photo site? Whew, oh man. Man, I don't know. I like everywhere I go. I love Alexandria, Old Town Alexandria, but I'm getting a little tired of it because I've been there so many times. I really liked Harper's Ferry. I like the Shenandoah Mountains. I think the Great Smoky Mountains. Okay, I have an answer. Of all the places I've ever been, I don't travel much. But the Great Smoky Mountains and all the little towns around there, I loved, and I can't wait to go back. Just the scenery and the way the clouds are, hence the name Smoky Mountains. I just love the clouds, and I would do so much landscape photography if I lived there, as opposed to here, that is, borderline city. We don't have tall buildings like New York City, but this area is a freaking, it's so busy, hustle and bustle. We just do it in 3 stories instead of 30. But I would much rather be a landscape photographer in the Great Smoky Mountains. That was my favorite. I picked up the ECG5 grip. I think it's about the only option at the point. Yeah, the grip for the grip for the EM5 Mark III from Olympus for $169 is fair, right? Considering it's an Olympus original part. I mean, a battery is $60, right? So a grip for $160 is fair. And the thing with a grip, and I mentioned this before, is, when I'm holding this camera now, your hand is like this, right? It's not a comfortable way to hold a camera. A grip lets you hold it more like this, right? Which is more natural for our hands and thumbs. So any grip will make a substantial difference in the handling of a camera. Like this XT30 has no grip, but adding this grip to it lets me hold it like this versus, I had to hold it like this. So, and then having the button and exposure dial on there also is really nice. Oh, thank you, Peter. And thanks for sharing, P. Kango, about your experience with the grip. Thomas, just signing on. Hope you have a safe... Thank you. Happy holidays to you. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Everyone. Oh, Alan, yes. The battery appears to be legitimate. A legitimate OEM factory original for like $16. It took me about 2 weeks to get it. And my initial testing, because I use I'm using this thing measures, I'm going to do a video on the batteries. Because I use this to actually measure the actual amperage that the battery contains. So I use a little fan to draw power out, or a light to draw power out of the battery directly until it dies, and then this will tell me how many amps did it actually use. And I've ordered 2 more batteries from this company that are supposedly factory original. So I ordered another BLS50, and I ordered a Fujifilm original, I think it was a Fujifilm original battery, for like $17. They were a little bit more, the Fujis. But still about 1/3 the cost of a factory original, right, if you bought it here in the US. And I'm going to test those, because if I buy one, right, and it turns out to be awesome, I still wouldn't feel comfortable recommending that battery and say, yeah, buy from this person, because this battery is definitely factory original. So I ordered 2 more, and if those 2 are also factory original batteries, then I would say, okay, in my video review, I'll say I've bought 3 batteries from them. All 3 turned out to be legit factory original batteries. And I tested them via the amperage that it's actually drawing, right? And I've gone through a few charge and recharge cycles, because sometimes when a battery, you have to charge and recharge a few cycles before you get the optimal use out of it, or it starts to die, right? So I need to go through a few more recharge charge cycles to do a little more testing, and then I'll be able to do a video and say, with a much higher level of confidence, if you buy this battery, you'll be okay. You should get a legit, and you can always return it, right? eBay protects the buyers pretty well. But why go through that hassle in the first place until someone else has done it, right? So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing that for you. I'm doing that legwork to see if these batteries are legit. And my initial impressions are yes, they seem to be legit. John, I bought it on eBay from a Chinese factory, and like I said, I'll share all of that info uh, once I'm a little more confident that I'm getting legit batteries consistently. Do I have a link? Um, I will tell you what. I will. You know, I know everybody's itching, right? Like I can get a factory original battery for about a third the cost. I, I I'm a little uneasy giving that link out quite just quite yet. Just be patient with me um, until I get a couple more in. I'm gonna get two more in about 2 weeks. Um, yeah, so give me a little more time. I don't want to put a link out there and then everybody gets bad batteries and then my credibility, right? My street cred kind of goes down a little. Uh, when I go to a photo, when I arrive at a destination, how do I start my photo experience? Really, honestly, I start with the camera itself. I make sure all of the settings are where I want them to be. Uh, I double check. I usually try to set it before I leave the house, and then when I get there, I double check again. I didn't do that last night. I missed something. So I messed up a lot of the photos. Um, and usually my photo walks is, I just start walking and looking for where the light is and how the light is hitting different objects. So if I'm in a city situation, I look at how the light is hitting the buildings and hitting the sidewalk and hitting people, where the shadows are. So I really look for light and shadows. Uh, and then, and the same thing for like if I'm in the woods, I look at how the light is hitting against the trees, where it's shining. In the wintertime, there's no leaves, but usually there's a lot of leaves on the trees. I look for where the light is hitting the ground and how it's hitting the ground. So I always look for the light. And then I start looking for geometry. Anywhere there's intersecting lines or there's triangles, triangles. Those are the two main geometric points that I look for are intersecting lines and triangles. And once I start to see the geometry of a scene, I start to consider, okay, within this geometry, what is the subject? What would be a good subject for this kind of geometry? And that may be backwards because a lot of people, they look for the subject. They see a flower and they say, oh, this is a beautiful flower. How? And then they start to think about the composition. That's as good a ways to go as any. But for me, I'm a little bit backwards. I look at the composition of the scene in the background first. And then within that scene, I can usually find a subject, right? Whether it's just a branch or a leaf or, a trash can, whatever it is, then I can see what the subject is within that geometry. So first I look at light, then I look at geometry, then I look for a subject. Because subjects are everywhere, right? It doesn't matter what the subject is for general photography, street photography, photo walks that I do, in my case. Because I'm not doing anything specific. I'm not a portrait photographer. I'm not a landscape photographer. I'm not a macro photographer, right? I'm more of a general photographer on my photo walk. So the subject matter itself is not as critical as my lighting and composition. So that's how I approach things. That's a good question though. It made me think a little bit, but yeah. Um, yeah, no battery charger with the Lumix GX85. That is so true. I just bought I just got my generic batteries and I bought a 2 pack and an external charger for $18. So I got 2 batteries and a charger for $18, and I'm going to test those too uh, for the GX85. Yeah, it's just it's one of these. You see these all day long, right, on Amazon for like $8 or $9, and then you get the batteries. Yeah, I don't like to charge in camera, especially generic batteries. Do never charge those in camera, man, because those will swell up on you, and you'll never get it out of the camera. It's happened to me kind of. Like I had trouble getting the battery out, and once that happens, I chuck the battery. What's the point of keeping a swollen battery? Um, but okay. Man, this is pushing on to a 3-hour live stream. Oh my God. When did I start? At 9:30? I better end it here soon. If there's no other questions, why don't we call it? Let me look at the calendar. The 29th. So next Sunday is the 29th. I really want to try to do one on Thursday, though, the 26th. But I think I have an appointment that day. But okay. Oh, hey, Robin. God, you're still here? Well, yeah. Robin and Solanto, Maddie, I'm sorry, Maddie. Um, Thank you so much for coming in and participating and helping the viewers here with questions. And I always recommend you subscribe to their channels. Even if you're not an Olympus shooter or you're not a Panasonic shooter, they both have very valuable content that's good across. It doesn't matter what you shoot with, right? Same thing with Peter Forsgaard. All excellent channels, and I say that because they put their heart and soul into their channels. They are not doing it, just for the views, so to speak, right? They generally want to help people with their photography, and that's really the only thing that's going to save the photography industry in general. With all the doom and gloom videos out there, is channels like this that show people how to use a camera and find the joy and passion of photography, and to bring that back, share with people that joy I think you can get out of photography, that I think has been lost really, and that's kind of the reason maybe photography, cameras aren't selling as well, is people have just not. Well, anyway, let me end it here. uh, I'll be back next Sunday. So between now and then, Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, and we'll see you before the new year. Okay? Thanks again for joining, everyone. We'll see you again.